Hey friends, I want to share with you a story that shows the beauty of waiting on God, of trusting Him when things don't move as quickly as we want, and of learning how His timing is always better than ours. It's a story of land, of buildings, of children without families, and of a man who would not move until God moved. There was a deep desire to provide a home for orphans. Not just any home, but one where they would be fed, clothed, educated, and most importantly, taught to know God. The dream was clear, but the means were not. How would such a place come together without asking anyone for money? Without schemes, without pressure, only through prayer and faith? That was the test. The search began for land. You can imagine the excitement of looking for the perfect spot. A place big enough to build houses for many children, but not too far from town. The first property that came into view seemed promising, but it wasn't quite right. Then another piece of land was offered, but the price was higher than expected. Again, it didn't feel like God's answer. Time went on, opportunities came and went, but the right place still hadn't appeared. And this is where the waiting began to stretch. Waiting can be hard. It tests your patience, your resolve, your faith. Each day, the prayers continued. Lord, if this is your work, provide the land in your way, in your time. Not once was there begging from people. Not once was there manipulation. Just prayer. Let's pause here and turn this into prayer. Lord, teach me to wait on you. Help me not to run ahead of your timing. Give me peace when answers don't come quickly. And remind me that every delay is part of your perfect plan. The months dragged on. Offers came, but none seemed to fit. To others, it might have looked like wasted time. But when you live by faith, you know that no waiting is wasted. God uses the waiting to prepare the answer. Finally, the right piece of land appeared. It was spacious, in a good location, and it felt as though God Himself had pointed it out. The cost was higher than anything in hand, but faith said yes. Instead of panicking, there was prayer. Lord, if this is the place, provide the money. And sure enough, little by little, the funds began to arrive. Not from campaigns or requests, but from unexpected gifts. Sometimes small, sometimes large. Always at the right moment. Isn't it amazing how God works? Just when it looks like you're stuck, He shows up with provision. Let's pray together. Father, strengthen my faith to believe for things that look impossible. Just as you provided land and buildings for orphans, provide for me in every area where I need your help. With the land secured, the next challenge was to build. A single house would not be enough. The vision was for several houses, each home to about 30 children, with room for their caregivers. A place not overcrowded, but comfortable, healthy, and full of love. Plans were drawn, prayers continued, and soon construction began. Brick by brick, wall by wall, the houses rose. There were delays, of course. Sometimes the money in hand wasn't enough to pay for the next stage of building. But the work never stopped completely. Whenever the funds ran low, prayer went up, and God answered. It was as if the very bricks testified of His faithfulness. At times, people asked, why don't you just borrow money? Why not make an appeal? But the answer remained the same. This work is God's, and He will provide. And true to His promise, He did. Now let's make this personal in prayer. Lord, help me to depend on you fully. Teach me not to look to shortcuts or to people, but to trust that you are my provider. Give me the courage to stand still and see your salvation. The first house was completed. Children who had been without parents now had a home. Imagine the joy of watching them eat a warm meal, sleep in a clean bed, and run freely in the yard. These were children who once had no hope, no shelter, no security. Now they had family, structure, love, and a chance to grow. But the work didn't stop there. More children needed homes, and so the vision expanded. One house became two became three, until there were several, each filled with laughter, with learning, and with prayer. And all of it came about through faith, without asking anyone but God. Take a moment to pray this. Jehovah Jireh, provide not just enough, but more than enough in my life. Bless me so that I can bless others, just as you provided more than enough for the orphans. Through it all, one of the greatest lessons was about persistence in prayer. It wasn't enough to pray once and then forget. The prayers went up daily. sometimes with groans, sometimes with joy, but always with trust. This persistence was not about forcing God's hand, but about aligning the heart with His will. And every time the answer came, it was clear God had heard. Let's turn this into prayer together. Lord, give me the grace to pray without ceasing, even when answers are delayed. Help me to remain faithful in prayer, knowing that you hear me every time I call. Another challenge came with the need for workers. Buildings and children required caretakers, teachers, cooks, and overseers. Again, prayer was the key. Instead of advertising positions or recruiting widely, the prayer went forth, Lord, send the right people. And slowly, the right workers appeared, people who shared the vision, who loved God, and who were willing to serve. Pray this with me. Lord, just as you sent the right workers for the orphan houses, send the right people into my life. Connect me with helpers who will support your purpose for me. What is striking in all this is that the entire work was not for human glory. It wasn't to make a name or build a reputation. It was for one purpose, to show the world that God is faithful, that He can be trusted, that He provides for His children. Every stone laid, every meal served, every child cared for was a testimony to the goodness of God. Let's make that our prayer. Father, let my life and everything you provide for me bring glory to you alone. Keep me humble, and help me always remember that it is your work, not mine. The orphan houses stood as monuments of faith. They spoke silently but powerfully. This is what God can do when someone dares to trust Him fully. And if He can do it for hundreds of orphans, He can do it for you. Whatever your need is, whatever your burden, you can carry it to Him in prayer and wait for His timing. One last prayer. God, when my faith feels weak and the wait feels long, renew my strength. Remind me that you are faithful and that you will come through at the right time. And that, my friend, is the heart of this story, the act of patiently waiting on God, fully placing our trust in Him, and witnessing the remarkable ways in which He provides for us. It is often in these moments of anticipation that we realize His plans, surpass anything we could have dreamed of or organized on our own. This journey teaches us about the beauty of faith and the extraordinary ways in which divine intervention can unfold in our lives, often revealing blessings and solutions that are far beyond our own limited understanding.